Kia ora everyone, this is Clayton uh, from Drowning Prevention Auckland. Just another follow up from our last podcast that I had, and I thought today I'll cover things around equipment and just if someone's getting started, at least they know kind of like what they need and where they need to start with. Just a little recap. A lot of incidents have been happening in New Zealand for over the last 10 years, especially around gathering kai moana. Many of our whānau have been getting into difficulty, and many have actually drowned while gathering kai. My main core role is with Drowning Prevention Auckland is to strive to reduce the drownings amongst whānau, or just to educate. So we love our seafood, and we don't ever want to stop that, but we want to ensure that whānau are keeping each other safe, and also sharing their experiences, especially all our divers that are experienced amongst whānau in different community. We want them to also share their experiences with their whānau. So there's three main causes why people get into difficulty. One is not having the right equipment. I'll just share a couple of stories just to highlight that. One of my a friend of mine or cousin, he went diving with his brother, and I told him to make sure he takes my buoys. So my buoys are the things you can see in the image behind me, the yellow buoys with a sack attached to it, which he did. His brother went out, had everything, had a wetsuit, weight belt, and the only thing he didn't have was flippers. So he jumps in the water where they usually go diving, and within minutes he was right out the back, and his brother yelled out to him, "Is he all right?" He couldn't speak or signal or anything. He was just hanging on, ready to go under because he was trying to kick with his bare feet and wasn't getting anywhere. So my mate went out to rescue him with my two buoys, got to him in time. His brother was nearly ready to go under, couldn't keep himself afloat. He jumped on the two buoys. He was totally exhausted. He couldn't even kick himself back in. So his brother, with the flippers and with all the gear, kicked his brother back in with those two buoys. It was a great outcome and a great lesson at the end of the day, though. He went out there. You don't know sometimes, whānau, what you don't know until you're actually in difficulty. So that was one experience of someone not having all the right gear. You need to have the whole lot, and the fins are essential and the most important thing also in diving. Also, the second, I'll give one other example, was with my brother. So my brother was diving at a place up in the north called the Yellow Rock. For some reason, he didn't have any buoyancy, but for some reason he had lost one of his flippers, so he was only kicking with one. His brother-in-law got into difficulty and swam over to him and said, "Oh, can you hold my sacks? Because I'm tired, I got to go in." And so he gives my brother his sack, and my brother had his own with one flipper. And my brother said he would kick forward 5 meters and get taken back 7. And he wasn't making any gains, to the point he was becoming exhausted with his one flipper. So my brother had to drop everything and just try and save his own life with kicking back in with his one flipper. The good thing is my brother survived that experience, and there was a learning experience for him, and he's still with us today, and he's been diving for the last 35 years from learning from that incident. So those are just a couple of examples of not having the right gear. So if anyone's going out and they're diving with shoes or bare feet, just with bare feet, it's it's going to be a huge risk, especially if you're diving in places where there's a lot of current. The second one is depending on someone's ability, skill level, and competency that they have. Um, they can also get into difficulty if they don't know what they're doing. And skill and experience, all those abilities, competency only comes in time with having different diving experiences. Okay. And number three, why people get into difficulty, it depends on the conditions and the areas that they're diving. Places where there's current or moving water, where there's swell pushing in, those are areas where places are exposed. Then those are areas where you're higher at risk of getting into difficulty. So those are just the three things I just thought I'll start off with our podcast, was how people get into difficulty. Now I'm just going to share my screen, and I'll just go into the presentation of just the gear and equipment. So, good everyone. I thought today I'll cover equipment and just go over different types of fins or flippers that you can use. So as you can see down here, got a variety of flippers. These are the majority these are the majority of the ones that I use. This one here is, I find, is one of the best that I've ever used for all types, for deep diving, currenty water. It's beautiful because of the spit when you're kicking with it. It's not so heavy under the water, and it's nice and light, and it's easy on your hammies, especially if you're a little bit older like myself. Okay, so these are really awesome. Primo in current, you can just rip up the current, no sweat. Okay, this one here is the one that I usually use for scuba diving mainly. It's a little bit wider, so it's got a bit more bite with the weight of the tank. Okay, and they really move you under the water, mean as. So that's for my scuba diving. And then ruku, these are the ones that I use for free diving and deep diving. So these ones mainly are used for, like I said, flippers can be, you can use any type of flipper anywhere, but some of them give you different things. So for this one, they're really good for deep diving, if you're diving straight off a boat. If you're going offshore, what I mean offshore, if you haven't got a boat and you got to kick from the beach out into the open, that's what I call offshore. It can be quite tiring, but if those are your fins that you use, and hopefully you get used to them, ka pai, they're all good. But mainly for going nice and deep, dropping deep, straight down, they give you heaps of propulsion, and it's a lot easier for you to equalize with a bigger fin. This is just a different design. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit more harder, a bit more bite. If you think of gears in a bike, that's like your top end speed. It's really hard, but it moves you really quick through the water, but you're using a lot more energy. These are just your normal basic ones. I've got cousins up north that still can dive deep with these. So these are good for shallow, I'd say about 4 or 5 meters under, just getting like power, because a lot of power spots are usually in shallow water more so. Okay, so that's a good average kind of flipper. So one time I got caught in a rip with my long ones, a friend of mine, and we weren't making any gains. We were pulling our sack with our buoy of power, trying to bring it in, and we're in a rip right in the middle. We weren't getting anywhere. We were trying to go to the calmest area, but we weren't making any gains, so we had to turn to the left and come with some massive breakers and waves to bring us all the way in. So I learned a lesson there about having real massive long fins going offshore. But if you know your areas, kei te pai, you can use those, no worries. Okay, two types of goggles, masks that I use. This is a purge. A purge has just got, so if you fill it up with water on the inside, like if it's leaking, you can blow without going to the top and emptying it out, and you can clear your mask like that. Okay, maybe I'll explain that a bit better. So if I put it on and say I got water in it, it was leaking for some reason, most of the time you'll have to kick to the top and then go like that and empty the water out. This side you just press and blow, and then the water comes out there. Okay. This mask has lasted me for nearly 10, 12, 15 years if you look after them. Okay, you don't want to leave them in the sun, and just rinse them with clean water once you're finished. Okay, so this is one of my favorite masks. The only thing with this is when you're free diving or spearfishing, they can be quite noisy because you're always blowing like that, and it makes a lot of noise, whereas these ones here, they haven't got the purge. A lot of free divers that are spearfishing use these. They're a lot more silent under the water. Okay, yeah. And just with defogging your masks, if you buy a new mask, most of the time they'll fog up straight away. So there's one method that most people use, is just toothpaste. There's usually a plastic seal on the inside. You can't see it, it's just on the glass. But you put toothpaste on, rub the toothpaste in. Okay, rinse it with fresh water, toothpaste again, nice, get it in there, rub it in, rinse it again, and it should be fine. If it doesn't, I have done mine with one of the dive shops said you can burn the glass on the inside with a lighter, but you just got to be careful you don't burn any of your mask. So it's up to you if you want to give it a go, but if you light it at the bottom, the seal just opens up like that and you can see it come off. So also there's two main reasons why you might your goggle or your mask will fog up is you perspire off your face, so really hot. So if you've got your gear on and by the time you get to the area, if you're walking, then you're steaming hot and you're just sweating from the face. The moment you put it on, okay, you're going to start fogging up. So you can also use we also use you have for a cheap way, you can use baby shampoo. Baby shampoo doesn't hurt your eyes, so you can just rub that in and it works exactly like a defogger. Okay, so you can buy some from the shop, but they're only like little bottles like that, and they're about 11, 12 bucks, whereas baby shampoo is nice and cheap. So sometimes you want to wet your face, cool yourself down before you hop in, and then put your mask on from there, and that should help with your mask fogging up, or not fogging up. Okay, so here's two types of snorkel, just a basic snorkel. I usually just go with the basics. They're just a lot more user friendly, easier to use. Sometimes these, depending on the model, I've had some good ones, but I've had some bad ones too, and you can't tell with all these new ones. So they have a purge at the bottom, so when you blow, it's meant to come that side and this side, but for some reason some drag it back up and you end up swallowing water. So I just end up sticking to the basic ones. Okay, right, so just going to show you my rig here. So this is my basic diving rig here. Okay, carabiner, okay, and then it just attached to an anchor here. If I'm in current, I can just open that up, okay, open it up and I drop it, then it holds with a big bite. If there's no current, then I just keep it closed and then just pretty much drop the anchor. Okay, so my sacks are attached to this here. So easy to put them on, just whack, yep, there like that. okay? And voila, you're ready to go for your diving rig, okay? Now what I talked about with rescuing, okay, these go underneath your arms like that, okay? And then I can be above the water if I was totally exhausted, and then someone can pull me back in, or I can just hang on these until help comes to me. But you'll never sink with these as long as you're on this, okay? You might need to ditch, if it's a real emergency, you might need to ditch your sacks, okay? And these can just be unclipped, take off, if you're in a life and death emergency, okay? But this is my go-to. Basically, I can attach as many sacks to that as I like, but just remember the weight that these are going to hold. So pulling these along is a lot easier than carrying a sack with you if you're offshore and then you're trying to get back in with a heavy sack. So a lot of people get into difficulty with also not letting the sack go and carrying a sack, okay? So we want to go away from having the sack in our hand. You can do that. I still dive with having the sack in my hand, but it's because I'm diving around boats and people that are on the boat, they can come to me, okay? But if I'm diving offshore, different story. I need something to be able to hold the weight of my catch, and also if I needed to rescue someone, anyone, then I can help assist someone, okay? So I've surfed in big waves with these, not on purpose. I went to go and rescue a friend of mine who got sucked out with his tanks, and I didn't have any of these on. I just held these like this, turned around, massive waves were dumping behind me, and I was able to just surf in front of the waves, just holding these two, and I wasn't going underneath the water or anything. There was so much buoyancy. Okay, so that's my simple rig there. This rig, all up just with the rope, so these are $35 each. That's 70. Anchor is roughly around 20 bucks. Carabiner 18. And your rope, I like having a bit more thicker rope, okay, not thin rope, because you don't want thin rope. You can get tangled up pretty quickly with thin rope, where it's a lot thicker. You can see where your rope is, and also your mates that are diving with you can too. Okay, so that's a dive rig. Here's our weight belt. This is to help you get underneath the water on top of your wetsuit, okay? And I've got another video on the other stuff. So that's it for the gear. Kia ora whānau. Kia ora whānau. Just when you're putting your wetsuit on, especially these ones with kind of like the rubber, they're free diving ones, beautiful suits, keep you really warm during the winter. I usually go 5mm, and you can also use it summer and winter, keeps you nice and warm. So I just start with the legs. Just soak the legs under there so it goes all the way through. Then you can start from this side, okay, just wet on the inside there like that, and then your suit should just slide on like a glove. And do the same with your jacket, just down the arms, okay, both of the arms, that's really important, down there and a little bit in there like that, okay. When you're putting your jacket on, you want to make sure that you only pull one arm through first, all the way. If you pull it halfway and then you try and grab the other one and you got two, you're going to have two arms like this and you can't grab onto it, okay? So that's just a little thing to make sure. Just pull one hand through. Funny, eh, son? Like that. So that's how you soak your suit up. Back in the days, we used to just use plastic bags, put bread plastic bags on our feet, and put our suits on like that. But now with these ones, you need the soap to protect your suit. Okay, thank you, whānau. Kia ora whānau, just this is just me putting my suit on, fast track. Bottom one on first, then the top one, and then you clip it underneath, and voila, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
So, whānau, this is like I told you, our method up north that we use. Basically, the knot is at the bottom, so if you put power down your shirt, they don't fall out underneath your belt. Okay. Oh man, not too much breakfast. So that's it. That's basically. Now you got to remember, as you start adding power into your shirt, it starts affecting your buoyancy. But this is only to collect the power off the bottom shelf, and then once we fill up our shirt, then we go to our sack, and then by the time we get to the sack, they've all sucked onto each other in a big clump, and we just offload to our sack. Okay, so basically your knife just there, down there. Okay, I just get cheap knives from Burns Co, because knives, they come and go, you can lose them quite easily, but I rather go with a little knife. They're easier to slide under the power, turn and take the power off. Okay, so basically as I'm diving down and I just turn underneath the power shell, turn, and then the power just comes off. So I might flick 3 or 4 at the same time, gather straight into my shirt. Okay, that's the method. Then once you've got a full shirt, then you can go straight. You can also do the same with kina. Okay, but some people don't like their suits to get prickly with putting kina down. Okay, but this is just another method that you can utilize. And also, whānau, just in any type of emergency, just go back a bit down. It's like the last resort where you know you're running out of options, you're starting to get really, really tired, and you need to ditch your weight belt. Okay, so basically just pull, release, and it'll drop off in the water. And a lot of issues why people actually get into difficulties because their gear is expensive, and the last thing they want to do is ditch their gear. But I'll tell you something, a weight belt's only like $100, and I honestly believe that your body and your tinana and who you are is worth more than $100. Even your aunties and uncles, if it was going to cost you your life, they'll go and buy you one. Okay, so don't always think of the cost. Your life is way more important. So worst case scenarios, ditch the belt. One time I had my weight belt on, I was diving under and I didn't see my brother's rope for his rig. I dived underneath, the rope went behind the weight belt. Straight away when I felt it, I turned towards holding the rope, and I was kicking up holding the rope long as I was still sliding, and I was able to make it to the top. But if I went halfway and I got stuck, I would have needed to release my belt straight away so I could get to the top. So those are just a couple of little tips when you're out there diving. Kia ora whānau. This is just taking off the wetsuit now, guys. Kia ora whānau. Now, just taking off your wetsuit, believe it or not, there's a little technique. You don't want to rip your suit, okay? So what I do, and the distributors might say he's doing it wrong, but this is how I do it. And I keep walking in the front of my suit all the way through, like that, hand up through, straight away out of my suit like that. Okay, now taking this one off, I want to show my abs. So basically just down, and I roll down here, I pull, then hands on the inside, I slide all the way right off to my ankle, okay? Because this here is easy to rip and you can cut them and then damage your suit. You don't want to do that, okay? So basically making sure you get your suit off right. I just thought I'll also just cover some of the gear for those that are interested. Um, you could be looking at a total of roughly around $1,000 all up. You might think that's a lot of money, but you can go online, trade me, and get some cheaper ones for exactly the same. And I always go for cheaper myself, but I make sure that they're still good quality flippers. So these are just some of the prices. Wetty is a great New Zealand company that has great dive gear, and they have some great specials. Sorry, it's my cat. They have some great specials. Also, Ocean Hunter is another one of my favorite dive shops that I go to. But you can pretty much get wetsuits anywhere, and they range between $200 to $550 depending on what you're going for. But the cheaper suits, they still do the same job as long as you look after them. Just some they add a little bit extra to the knees and to the arms for commercial, just for the wear and tear, and basically that's what puts the prices up for a wetsuit. So this is my rig here that I've put together that you can just have a look at roughly at the prices there. So that's just for your guys' information if you want to have a gawk at looking at getting you guys some gear. So I suppose to the better part of the show is the art of gathering kaimoana. Through all my years, it's been such a joy and beautiful experiences of being able to dive in the moana, and I'm just going to show a video of one of my mates, and then I can just talk to that video about gathering kai. But a lot of it comes with experience, and the more that you can hold your breath and relax in the water, the better diver you become and the more kai that you can gather. Okay, so this is just a video of my friend, relation anyway, Sean Herbert from up in Pauringa, a great diver, awesome diver with him and his bro there, and also a great wakaama paddler too. When you're looking for crayfish, they're usually in darker holes and gaps. That's where they like to be, but some also can be in crevices like that. Look at those just sitting up the back there. Those are the places you got to be careful when you're trying to wedge yourself in to grab a cray. And see how you can get lodged in between a crevice. Going for a grab of a crayfish underneath the horns, so the feelers. Then you go to the horns and grab the back of the crayfish. It's just like grabbing apples off a tree, whānau? And you got kina just sitting there. And that's how easy it is in gathering kina. You hold your breath. As long as you got gloves. Shopping. Beautiful little kai for the whānau. If you calculate all that, 35 for each crayfish, you know, that's like a couple of $100 worth of kai there for free. Learning the skill. places like that, if you're tank diving, you can use a noose to get right down the back. Here's a guy, he's got a noose there, and you can get a noose to go right at the back to get crazy at the back. So where he's holding, we call those the horns. This is their sacks attached to their buoys and loading up their sacks. Look at that. Beautiful kite. Boom, straight up for the grab. Crayfish can be pretty fast, they kick back. If you see with that one, it's got a berry underneath, it's got eggs. Those ones you should always let go, because there's thousands of eggs there. We want to think of sustainability. Trying to get the kai in the sack. There you go, whānau. Your sack is attached to the buoys at the top. Let the little ones go. So that's a little example of just how you can gather your kai when you've got them attached to buoys. Bang, another grab. Awesome, bro. Good dive. We also have an e-learning platform on our website, Drowning Prevention Auckland. If you go on there, we also have a diving safety e-learning video that you can go and jump on if you got a bit of time during lockdown. So I'd just like to wrap up this little video. Hope that you've got something out of it, and just stay safe wherever you're diving, whānau, out on the water. I do run regular dive wānanga in Auckland at the moment, and I can go out of our region. It's just more costs for those that want to have me go out of our region, but we try and keep the costs down as low as possible to make these this diving experience affordable for whānau. So yep, you might see some more posts that I might post up. Another one that I'm going to post up is how people get into difficulty around tank diving, and that'll be another dive podcast around that. So nō reira whānau, have a cool day and stay safe around this time. Kia ora koutou. Signing off for now, Clayton, wi kaira.